Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome to the Turning Point episode number 6. Number 6. That is amazing. I'm so glad everyone is here tonight. I see 33 people are here tonight. Where is everyone from? I'd love to know where everyone is from tonight because we have someone from all the way around the world. So I'd like to know where everyone is from tonight. And I'm going to be putting everyone's comments on the screen. So if you guys want to be on the screen as well on the Turning Point, go ahead. So I see Michael Fox is here. Nice. Hey, Michael. Hey, guys. I see. So, guys, if you guys can share tonight's episode on your feed, if you're on Facebook, if you just press the share button, if you're on YouTube, you can actually share it to your Facebook. You never know who you might impact. Oh, we got Alberta, Cambridge, Ontario. They're all coming in now. And if you guys could share this, you never know who you guys could help. It's amazing how the internet could happen. Someone might just magically slip by, hop in, and change their whole life. You never know what could happen. So just share it. It might change someone's life. Wow. Okay, I'm going to start putting everyone's on the screen. Alberta, Cambridge, Ontario, Doug from Toronto, Nebraska, Omaha. Wow. Lebanon, Brantford. Wow. Australia. This is amazing, guys. Awesome. So if you guys wanted to get on tonight's show, it's very, very simple. And we wanted to make this as simple as possible. And this is a very safe environment, if I remind you guys. At around 8:20, we're going to bring on our special guests. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the chat where you guys can click on and just join the show. And it'll be very, very easy for you guys to hop on and chat with Erin, who is going to be in the show. And she's going to be talking to you, asking you what your question might be. And then you can hop on the show around 8:40 to ask Doug your question, which is amazing. So a little bit about Doug. And by the way, I'm going to be your MC tonight. And a little backstory. I didn't actually know how MC was spelled. So when I was reading this nice script that Doug was giving me today to kind of remember, I didn't know what it was like, how to actually spell it. So, and I was like, what's this word? M-C-E-M-C-E-E. I was like, what? But the one thing I want to remind you guys tonight is that tonight could be the turning point for you guys. I want to introduce you guys to Doug Dane. And if you guys don't know who he is, Doug's life started with abuse and has turned his life into an abundance. Now he's on a mission to show others how they can do the same. Doug and I created the show because he wanted a platform to reach a lot of people and help get them unstuck fast. I mean, wicked fast. Doug discovered that the turning point can happen very fast for you. It's actually quite simple. Doug spent years trying to figure out how to get ahead, and it was really hard and took him a long way. It took him a long time. It doesn't have to be that way for you. Let Doug show you how. There's a better way. This could be your turning point. So here is Doug Dane. Doug Dane, how's it going?
Hello, Tyson. How are you?
I'm good.
Now you know how to spell MC.
I know how to spell MC. Yes,
It's
I know
it's
it's
almost like
embarrassing.
E equals MC squared, but it's EMC. How did you pronounce it? What did you say? What, emicacy, or what did you say?
Emiki. And I was like, what is this?
Emiki, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, it's funny.
Yeah, very funny.
Cool. I'm watching on my phone here,
Yes.
and it's just really cool. We got people from New Zealand, Australia, Kitchener to Guelph area where I live, just outside Toronto, North Carolina, Tennessee.
Yeah.
This is really cool. St. Kitts, that's where I'd like to be right now, is in St. Kitts, I'll tell you that. This is really, really cool. New Jersey, my friend Michael in New Jersey. Really cool. Yeah, listen, thanks for coming on, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you're watching the recording of the replay, I hope that you enjoy the show. And I really want to encourage, like Tyson said, to share this. Just, stop right now, hit the share button, tag somebody, share it, put it on your own profile, drop a link in a group that you're in. Maybe you're part of a Facebook group that you think might benefit from tonight. Tonight's topic is about don't make shit up. We're going to talk about the power of the law of assumption and how it can work for you and how it can work against you. So if you know anybody out there that is stuck or struggling, or maybe they got a story like me or our guest tonight we're going to meet that just needs a turning point in their life. And, I wanted to do this show early on when I was really, I guess I was probably, some people might say I was frustrated and angry about the state of people that I was meeting. And it wasn't that I was frustrated and angry, but I became very, very passionate about trying to help people get unstuck fast because, I meet people 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, and they're still freaking stuck. And I was stuck, and man, oh man, I wasted so much time of my life trying to figure out how to get unstuck. And so I just became really passionate about it. And I just don't think anybody should be living the way that they're living if you're struggling. You really don't have to. It doesn't have to be difficult. And so I just got really fired up. I thought, I'm going to figure out ways to get out a message that I have that I learned. And it took me a long time to figure it out, like Tyson said, a long time. And I've been just dedicated and committed to doing everything I can to do something for you to wake you up and cause a turning point for you, because it can happen really fast. It's not really complicated, but we make it complicated. I made it really complicated, and that was just simply my experiences and what I was taught, the road that I went down, and so I'm fired up about doing this, and I'm just so grateful for Tyson and his partner Brandon to really push on this idea to get this show going. And we're going to go global with it. We are global, Tyson. We are now global. The turning point just went global tonight. Well, I think it went global a couple of weeks ago, but we are now all around the world. I don't know how many countries we're in tonight, but we're in a lot of countries, and there'll be a lot of countries watching the replay as well. So, dude, we're global already.
The one thing that keeps going through my mind when I hear that is just the impact that we can have now. Because the coolest thing about this, if they watch this show, maybe they can tell someone the advice that you gave them, impacting them, causing this nice ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
I love that. So many people we can help.
I mean, my closest mentor, Bob Proctor, of course, he always says, one person changed his life. And it only takes one person to change somebody else's life. And like tonight, for example, you're going to meet New Ray, and what an amazing young lady that she is. And she's going to change a lot of people's lives with her experience, her stories, and her story and what she's now doing. And that's really what it's all about. And so I'm on a mission just to wake people up, because most people are just tiptoeing through life, hoping to make it safely to death. They live a habitual way. Oftentimes they don't think things can be better, or they've tried to make it better and it didn't work, and they give up, and they just think that's as good as it gets. Well, that's fucking bullshit. And so I'm just sick of all the bullshit. There's bullshit running through our minds. There's bullshit running in our beliefs. There's bullshit in the system, in the schools system, in mental health, and all this bullshit out there. Friends of mine love the way I say bullshit. There's just so much bullshit out there, and I want to cut through all the crap so you can see the truth about who you really are and what you're really capable of, kick your ass and get you moving. And so I'm very direct. I don't like screwing around. I interrupt people a lot because, sometimes your self-image, your paradigm, whatever your bullshit is, goes wah, 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 wah. And I'm just sick and tired of hearing all the wah, 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 wah. I want to talk about how to get you going in your life. And so that's really what we want to do with this show. So again, tonight's show is called Don't Make Shit Up. We're going to talk about the power of assumption. So there are Mother Nature as these absolute laws. There's laws we can see, like the law of gravity, and there's other laws that really govern and dictate nature. And so one of them is called the law of assumption. And the law of assumption, we're not going to get too deep into it tonight. If you want to learn more about it, when you work with me as a client, I really get into you understanding these laws, because most people are breaking the laws. And the law of assumption is creating everything in your life. And so what I want to do tonight really is talk about how those assumptions are actually probably hurting you, or you're not using the law of assumption properly to help you. You're going to meet New Ray. She's from Australia, and she struggled for a long time with a bunch of assumptions. And you're going to hear her story. And before her and I met, and since her and I have met, I've not known her very long, but what I got her to do is just switch up her assumptions and cause the turning point for her to get her to look over here, look this way. And there was a lot of assumptions being made by her. There's a lot of assumptions being made about her by others that knew her or knew her story and what she'd gone through, her friends, her family, et cetera, people in her life. And so she really struggled. And I think most of us are struggling with these assumptions. So for me, when I was young, I made all kinds of assumptions. When I was young, I was told at a very early age, Doug, you're a little piece of shit and you're never going to amount to much. And so I began to assume that was true. I was born on Devil's Night. My brother was born the day before Valentine's Day, on the day before Halloween. And so my mom nicknamed me the Little Devil and nicknamed my brother the Little Angel. And guess what? I made the assumption that I was a bad kid. And so I was a little devil. I got into a lot of trouble. And so I was told things about me, and I just assumed that they were true, and I believed them. And so one of the biggest mistakes that we're making as adults with young people is we're telling them shit that isn't true. And we're criticizing them, and we're judging them, and we're telling them things, and we say these things that just can literally just cut somebody down. And now it's not your fault, but it's your responsibility. We just learn to do that. You pick that up from somewhere, from someone, teachers, parents, other adults in your life. I was dealing with my daughter in her school last week, and the teacher wrote an email about some work that she was behind on, and she finally got the work done, and she was just being her fun, jovial self and wrote an email back in a fun way. And the teacher made all these assumptions about what she said, what she meant, and what she did or didn't do. He wrote back this long email, and man, oh man, it was just filled with a bunch of assumptions and criticisms and judgment. And Eden came down and said, Dad, did you see the email? I said, yeah, I saw the email. I said, he's so wrong. I said, don't take it personally. I said, he's so far off track. Just stick to the facts. The facts were, yeah, you were late on your exam or your assignment. The facts were you got it done, blah, blah, blah. Just stick to the facts. But we pick up on all the crap and all the assumptions, and when we're young, it really hits us, and that it opens up your vulnerability. So I was very vulnerable at a very young age because I started believing a lot of crap, and because I grew up in a pretty crappy situation. I mean, the stuff that I saw. I remember one assumption I made when I was young. Often, my dad would drag my mom down to the basement, and in our basement, it wasn't unfinished. The roof of the basement, which was the floor of upstairs, in the rafters, he had a shotgun in a long cardboard box. He'd drag my mom down to the basement, throw her in the corner. He'd grab the shotgun, he'd stick it down her throat, and he'd threaten to kill her. He said, now, son, that's the way you treat a woman. And so I got all these terrible, terrible messages and started to make all these assumptions. And then as I was going through all that, I started feeling like something felt really wrong. Something was really off. And so, of course, that was my intuition, the perfect image of who I really was, creating God's image, but witnessing these other images. And it felt so wrong, and it felt so off. And I started making assumptions about myself because I felt like there was something wrong. It was really, really bizarre. I remember when I was sexually abused, I assumed it was normal. The men that were abusing us, they gave us the book, The Joy of Sex, and they found passages in the book where it was normal for males to, experiment with sex with the same sex. And so they had underlined passages and read that to us. Well, that is normal, but not for an 11-year-old or a 12-year-old. And so here I am believing and assuming this is true. And so then me and my friend, one of my friends was also being abused, him and I started experimenting with sex. And it felt good physically, but it really felt wrong psychologically and emotionally. But then because of that wrong feeling, I assumed there was something wrong with me. And then as I made mistakes going forward, I assumed it was all me. I just started, making all these mistakes. Primarily for me, it was making mistakes in relationships. I was taught to lie. Like I watched my parents lie to each other. I watched my parents lie to our family. I watched our parents lie to the police when the police came. I watched them lie about the other person to us. And so I grew up with liars, and I learned to lie. So I lied and I cheated and I stole. And I got into a lot of trouble. Again, I made these assumptions about who I was. And then later in life, I took on this responsibility and I assumed it was all my fault. I'll never forget when my first marriage fell apart. And I was sitting with a counselor and we were talking it through. And she started to notice a trend that I was taking on all the responsibility for the relationship failing. She goes, Doug, I just want to throw something by. She goes, and I'm just spitballing here, she said. Did you ever think that maybe you picked the wrong girl? I looked. Could it be that simple? Could it be that simple? I just picked the wrong person and got into a relationship with a person that wasn't right for me. And that was the problem. And no, but that's what it was. But no, I made those assumptions much, much differently than that. So I took on all this responsibility. I made a lot of shit in my head because I assumed the adults were right and that I was wrong. And so then this self-image gets formed. And so I formed this self-image of myself. I had an image on the outside. I got really good at pretending to be somebody that I wasn't in order to be liked, to get girls to like me, to get my friends to like me, to get people want to hang around with me or invite me into their circles and to their parties and to the different things that they were doing. So I became a really good actor. And I continued walking through my life really feeling out of sorts and really feeling off. And I didn't really know what the hell was going on. But then I discovered how my self-image was formed. And I discovered how I had adopted that. And then I also learned how to recreate a new self-image. So it's interesting, Tyson, just as we're wrapping up here, we bring New Ray on. I get a lot of messages from the show. And I think I've gotten a bunch of offers from people for counseling and therapy and dealing with all that, which I really greatly appreciate. Don't get me wrong, but I just need to say to people, if you're watching, I have moved past all of that. I really see my story as a gift, not a curse. I have no ill feelings. I hold no negative emotions. I don't look back on my story in any negative way, shape, or form. When I'm talking about it, what I'm doing is I'm going back to the facts of the story to make it relatable to you and also get you to feel comfortable to speak up and to talk about it. And so tonight, I want you to come on the show, get in the green room with Aaron, and come on here, baby. Talk to me, ask me questions, ask for help. You're going to probably want to talk to New Ray. She's a wonderful lady, and come on and talk to her, and she'll share with you. Really, what I've learned is talking works. That's why I tell my story. I tell my story to get your attention, to wake you up, try to create an emotional impact. That's the only way I can change your mind and get you to go in a new direction to cause the turning point that you need. In fact, my first website was called Talking Works. I realized if I told my story, talking works. You feel better. You normalize. You let go. So that's my 2 cents for tonight. And I want to bring on our guest, New Ray. Mm-hmm. I don't know a lot about her, to be honest with you. A friend of mine, Joe, he runs a morning call, 5 a.m. club. It's called the Wake Up Call. And every day at 5 a.m., there's a bunch of people, hundreds of people from all around the world, get together and they study together, study the information that I teach, when I'm mentoring my clients on how to really shift this mindset and shift, the way that you're thinking so your results can change. Anyway, so Joe reached out to me. I was on a show one day. He said, listen, there was a lady on the show. Would you mind talking to her? She really, I think, could use your help. She's got quite a story and she's struggling. And I said, absolutely. And so Joe connected us, and we got connected through messaging. We hopped on the Zoom call, and we met. So I want to bring Nurray on. She's in Australia. She's literally right now it's about noon, 12:20 in Australia in the summer. We're here in the winter, and it's evening, and it's the middle of the day and summer for Nurray in Australia. So let's bring her on, Tyson.
Yeah, most certainly.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm awesome, thank you. It's good to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
How you feeling about being on the show?
I feel excited. I was nervous at first, but then I started getting excited.
Oh, good. Yeah. Well, I'm so glad you came on. I think people that are watching tonight with us are really going to get a lot from your story, your experiences, and what you've learned since we've talked and where you're at. And I really, again, if you're watching, I really encourage you, click on the link that's in the chat to get into the green room on and talk. You'll be glad that you did. If you're like me, when I was sitting in audiences at, I might be, watching a speech, or I might be at an event and the speaker's on stage, and I always wanted to ask a question, or I'd go up to the speaker and talk to them and, thank them, say something, but I always chickened out. So if you're like me, don't do that. Come on the show, click on the link in the chat, get in the green room. Aaron will set you up, and you can come on and talk with me, or talk with Nurray, or talk with both of us. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right. Well, I put some questions together. As you know, I didn't tell Russia. I said, "You want to hear the questions?" Nope. I just want to go with the flow. So I guess just to start out, before we met, which is only a few weeks ago, not long ago, just tell us where your life was at then, and around the time on Joe's calls and asking for help. Where were you then, and how did you feel about yourself at that point?
I honestly was like doing the best I could to move forward, because I forgave everyone in my life. I thought I forgave myself. But I kept victimizing myself, because I didn't know that I was victimizing myself, and I didn't know that I was taking everything so personal until I met you. I was so lost. I was looking for guidance, even though I didn't need the guidance, because I was guiding myself, and I just kept on looking for the right person to help me be the better me. But I was the only person who could change that when I met you. So, yeah.
But on the inside, though, what were you looking for? Because if you're searching for something, you must think there's something missing in you. What was missing?
My authentic self. I was missing. I couldn't. I thought that I couldn't think for myself. Like, I needed someone to guide me. I was lost. And I just assumed that I was in a bad place all the time, because that's what I was taught. That's what I was, like you said, assumptions. That's since I was little. I'm 30 years old now. So imagine 30 years of living, telling your story to people, and people feeling sorry for you. And you're like, oh, I should feel sorry for myself too. But then I don't want to feel sorry for myself. But I didn't know that I can just change that perspective. So I kept feeling sorry for myself. I kept feeling like I had so much to look at in my past, when all I wanted to do was go forward. I was so lost. I just didn't know. I was just looking for the right person to guide me to go forward.
Now, were you, I don't know if you were like me or a lot of people, I always say most people has a problem going on inside with how they see themselves. Everybody wants to talk about it, but nobody wants to admit it.
Yeah.
Is that you? Can you relate to that?
Yeah, 100%. My one was more like I was judging myself, and I thought that I was going to get judged for what has happened to me and what I was doing in my past. It was more like, oh my God, that's bad. Don't talk about it. Skip that part. Just talk about the major things, but don't talk about what you've done and what you was taught. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one part that I always brushed off and hid because I was scared to be judged, because I was judging myself. And yeah, which I was taught to, because I'm Turkish, so my culture is all about no kissing, no touching boys, no talking to boys, no even looking at boys. Do you know what I mean? And no talking about sex, nothing sexual whatsoever.
Right.
So when I was abused and then I felt what I felt from my abuser, I continued to do what I was taught, but then I realized what I was doing was bad. So then I didn't want to be that person. So what I did was I rebelled against myself, because I just thought that it was wrong and I don't want to be that person. So I tried to be a different person.
Right.
And it just went on and on and on, because I thought that if I said anything to anyone, they will judge me and no one will help me. And even if I do speak up, everyone felt sorry for me. So I felt sorry for myself as well.
Yeah.
And it just went on, and it was just a cycle of chaos.
Yeah. Tell us, so if you don't mind, you kind of open up a little bit there. Tell us a bit about your story. Like, what happened to you? And just, give us a little overview of some of the struggles that you endured because of what happened to you.
So when I was younger, I'm not sure how young I was, but I do remember my one of my good mates, she's one of my best friends, her 8th birthday, I remember the abuser coming to her birthday, and we both like ran to her bedroom underneath her bed and started yelling monster. So I'm assuming I was 8 years old, maybe younger. I just don't remember.
Mm-hmm.
I was abused by one of my dad's best friends. They were partners, and whenever he would come over for dinner or breakfast or anything, I was his play doll, I guess. Like, he would play and fondle with me, and I was just an experiment, I guess, or his little toy.
Mm-hmm.
And I was rewarded also. So once he has abused me, he would also give me a reward. So like a lolly, money. It was $5, and back then $5 was like amazing. I'd go buy the whole milk bar. So I was pretty much like, I wasn't upset at what he was doing, but I was just like, oh, this is different, this is new, and it feels good. So it just went on till the age of 14, on and off. Not like every single day, but every time we saw him, he'd have a fight with my dad, and then it will end. We won't see him. But then when I do see him, it was always him filling me up, touching me. He's like, I'm getting real detailed just so like I can get my story, but like he was just experimenting with me, and I was just taking it because I was young. I didn't know anything else.
Yeah.
So then I pretty much continued to fondle with myself, and I was just like, oh, this is different, this is new. And then I found out that it was bad, it was wrong, it's against your religion, it's bad sins, you're going to go to hell. And I was like, fuck, I'm going to hell, that's it. So it just went on from there. After that, I started to victimize myself and started smoking cannabis when I was like 14. I was smoking every single day almost, the chance I could get. I'd go to school sometimes high and no one will know, or I will go to work high and my parents and my uncle would never know. And it just went on until I started to take substances. It just went worse after that. I became a thief. I became someone that I wasn't, because I didn't want to be the person in my past, I guess. And I just went on until I hit the age of 22, where I lost my studies, my work, my family, my friends. I had no one. I was pretty much in a car by myself for 24 hours, just thinking, what the hell am I doing with myself? So then I moved overseas and I was sexually assaulted from the age of 14 to the age of 22 every time I was in Turkey, from my cousins and my uncles. Not my uncles, but one uncle. Yeah, so if it wasn't in Australia, I'd go to Turkey and it'll be in Turkey as well. So I just felt like it was normal. So it was bad, but it was normal. I was just in a different mental state. And when I hit the age of 22, for a whole year, I was on strong substances. And I lost everything in just 9 months. And then I was like, this is not what I want to be. This is not who I am. So I quit by going to Turkey and doing my own rehab. And then I started doing self-development. But because I was doing self-development on my own, I didn't know what perspective to look at or how I shouldn't take things so personally. And when I did tell people, life coaches, alchemy mentors, energy healers, and all these other hypnotherapists, they were all like, oh, really, really sad. You're a very strong woman. You're a very strong woman. And I was just like, I'm very strong, but I'd still cry because I just didn't know that I could just change that little perspective till I met you. So when I was watching you talk on the wake up call, the 5 a.m. wake up call, hi, Joseph, by the way, I was like to Joseph, no, I don't want to, I want to get out. Like, this is too much. I can't really hear these kind of things. I've lived something similar. I was abused. I was sexually abused, mentally abused. I was like, everything that he's saying, I have been pretty much, besides the kidnapping, I'm like, everything's there. I've done that all. It's all happened to me and it triggers me. I don't want to talk about it.
Right.
And Joseph was like, just sit, watch him, talk to him. And I was just like, but I can't do this. And he's like, you need to talk to him. And I was like, okay, I need to talk to him. And then I met you and I was just like mind blown. I was just like, this is what I needed to hear. I was assuming because that's what I was taught. And I just got to where I am. That's my story.
So, man, we could talk all night. When we first talked, how would you describe what happened on that call?
Our first talk, I would say that it was like New Year's Day for me. A new year, new me, new everything. Like, I just felt like it's what I needed to hear. Rather than, you said that we make things complicated, it's actually so simple. And when you told me that not to take things personal and everything that you told me that day, I was just like, wow, I feel like a whole new person. My paradigm shifted in just how many minutes was it? 15 minutes?
We were
15
talking.
minutes?
So you could see New Ray's energy. She's got just beautiful energy. She's just a beautiful person. Then she comes on the call and understand we didn't know each other. So, she might've been nervous or whatever. And, like I get right into it. Like, I mean, I don't waste any time. I started asking her a very direct question, like I'm asking her tonight. And like she said, you might be hearing her talk and it might be rubbing you the wrong way. Well, that's good. I'm trying to disturb you and disrupt you to wake you up to move in a new direction. So, she started talking and I was asking her questions to get the story and the background. And what I wanted to do really, I wanted to get the story, but more importantly, I wanted to get her perspective on her story. And that's really what I go for, is your perspective on your story.
Yeah.
And so I'm just listening to her words and they're telling me everything that she's perceiving. And all of a sudden she lights up and it's almost like you couldn't sit down. And it was like, you're blown away. And I looked at my watch. I go, do you know how long we've been talking? She goes, no. I said, about 15 minutes.
I was mind blown. I was like, what the hell? Usually it takes like an hour. Like I saw someone just last week and for 2.5 hours we were sitting down talking about things and they were just like, yep. And I was thinking to myself, me and Doug, like it took 15 minutes for us to get shit together, like get straight to the point. And that's how it's meant to be. Do you know what I mean? Like we make things so difficult that it's the comfort. Just yesterday, one of my girlfriends made a Instagram post about rewiring your brain. We're just so used to thinking one thing that when it's time to shift, it's uncomfortable. But you know what? That's the best part. Once you feel that uncomfort and you go onto this path, it's so much better than what you were thinking. Yeah, it feels great.
How are you doing now since we talked?
Amazing. Like I always talk to myself. I'm like, New Ray, don't worry, I've got you. Do you know what I mean? It's not like, oh my God, you're sad. Let me just put some Adele on, like cry myself, drinking wine or something. Do you know what I mean? I don't even have a lover, but I'll be crying anyway because I'm victimizing myself. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Let's just cry. Do you know what I mean? But it doesn't happen like that anymore. Now I listen to a sad song and I'm like, this person's so beautiful. Like, it's not about me anymore. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm not taking things personal anymore.
Yeah. Now, so Nurey, you had the benefit. So there's two ways you can approach this. The way I approached it is I took a long time to figure this out. And I wasn't really, what I was doing, I was looking in all the wrong places. Like you're doing all these therapists, all these modalities. I remember reading an article in Psychology Today, and it was just a simple little quote, and it was like 2002. I'll never forget it. And the guy in the article said, "There's nothing worse than being all fired up and going in the wrong direction." And what he was talking about was there's nothing worse than getting all fired up, but you're working on the wrong stuff. You know, like people, they go on YouTube, they go to seminars, they go to webinars, they buy all these books trying to find the answer, rather than figuring out, talking to somebody that has the answers, that can figure out very quickly what. So all I did with Nurey is I very quickly I knew what she needed to focus on. Now, Nurey had the benefit of working on personal development and really starting to understand how her mind works and how her thinking creates our feelings and our results, etc. Where a lot of people just don't. They're struggling. They feel like crap. They don't know what the hell's wrong with them, and they just don't see a way out. But they get on personal development stuff, and the YouTube video tickles their ears and makes them feel good for 5 minutes. But then next week they're right back to the same thing. So what you got to do, you must understand how your mind works, how you were programmed, why you believe what you believe, the self-image that was created, and then you have to understand how to change it. And that's really what I would. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and also be honest, Doug. Sorry to cut you off. That part, I just wanted to add that when people want to change to that perspective, in order for you to change to that perspective, you need to talk about what you actually feel, not, okay, this is what I've lived and this is my past.
Yeah.
And that's it. And this is what I've lived. But how do you feel about it? What is it that you feel back then? Maybe if you don't feel what you feel right now, my conscious mind is different to what I'm thinking, but go back to that day and tell yourself exactly how you feel about it. Do you know what I mean? A lot of people are ashamed. I was ashamed. I never regret my past, but I was just ashamed. And I was like, why was I ashamed? I just don't want to know. Let's not get into that. But the moment I started talking and being honest, I figured out why I was ashamed. Do you know what I mean? I was an 8-year-old girl who was playing with herself also, and I thought that was bad. But I didn't know any better. I'm a child. I was just playing a role that I was taught from an adult, whether it's an abuser, mother, movie. It could be anything. Do you know what I mean?
Whatever.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well, I think another interesting point that you just made there, I think it's important people know. I always say the truth shall make you free. So that's why I want to get you on the show talking. If you're watching, why I want you to come on live and tell the truth, because the truth shall make you free. So if Nurey didn't tell me the truth, or if I didn't have the permission to ask her questions to get to the truth, it would have taken longer than 15 minutes. But that's the magic, is you tell the truth, you talk, be objective about your story, don't take it personal. And then that's where the magic really happens. So we got 30 seconds before we bring a couple people on for questions. I think we got people want to talk to you. I can imagine why. How do you sum all this up in 30 seconds? What do you want people to know or be left with before we wrap the show up? I
just want to let everyone know that it's okay to talk. Don't feel judged about what has happened in the past or what you have done in the past. There is so much things that could make you feel so much better as soon as you start talking. Free your mind, free your soul, and honestly, just watch how much stronger you're going to become. What else? There was one more thing that I noted that I really wanted to say. Also forgive yourself. Everyone says, yeah, I forgive myself, I love myself. No, forgive that time that you've lived what you've lived and the secret that you're holding. Don't make it a secret anymore. Speak to someone and forgive yourself. Because if you don't forgive that little person that was maybe yesterday, the person yesterday, maybe 4 hours ago, if you don't forgive yourself, then why would anyone else forgive you, or why would you manifest anything better in your life when you're so bitter to yourself? Just forgive yourself and love yourself.
I love it. You know, I always say, I learned this, took me a while to learn it. It really actually wasn't even until probably about a couple of years ago. I learned actually that true forgiveness is forgetting. So I stopped using my memory to go back to bring my story forward to my present with a negative viewpoint. And when I stopped doing that, you know, it was very easy to forgive myself. So listen, you're remarkable. I'm so glad. I can't wait to get to know you more and help you more if you want it. And also just watch how this whole thing unfolds for you, because you found the turning point for you, and there's no freaking stopping you now. So Tyson, have we got anybody in the green room wants to come on?
We do.
Cool.
And guess where he's from?
He's got to be from Australia.
From Australia.
His name,
no, from Australia. His name is Chris. And I would love for everybody to give him a warm applause, please, because he's going to share a little bit of story, but to give you guys a little bit of context before he asks his question. But it's to both of you guys. Okay?
Beautiful.
All right.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to bring him on right now.
Chris.
Hi.
Hey, buddy. How are you?
I'm
Chris.
Chris.
You guys know each other?
Yeah.
Hey, man. Where do you live?
Melbourne, Australia.
You're in Melbourne. Okay. All right. How old are you?
I'm 21 years of
21.
age.
Okay. All
Yeah.
right.
I just wanted to kind of come on because I saw Nure speaking about her story, and I've got a quick little story. So from the age of 12, I was molested by my mum's best friend.
Okay.
So we went through the whole process of court cases, and for 4 years. So the court case finished when I was 17. And I had to drop out of school. I had to look after my mum because she kept getting panic attacks, and she really took everything that had happened really personally, obviously, as you would. But I never had time to grieve myself. I really just had to kind of put my feelings aside and look after my mum. So just in relation to that, I feel like my question would be, is that can these sort of situations really affect your relationship with your family?
It can, but it doesn't have to. You know, you brought up a really important point, I think, is so your mom is going to have her own perspective on the story. She's going to make her own assumptions about her guilt, her responsibility. She could stay stuck her whole life and continue to play that story verbally in her own either words and her own actions, etc., which could obviously impact you. So I think, you know, the first decision, if I were you, that you need to make, and I don't want people to misunderstand this, but what I did is I fired my parents. I fired a number of friends in my life too. And it wasn't a negative thing, but what it was is I decided that the context of the relationship with my parents, I was going to view it differently because you're an adult now. You're 21 years old. Okay. I remember a friend of mine, she was complaining about Mother's Day because she's a mom. She has 2 young boys. And she was complaining because her mom was complaining about Mother's Day. I said, listen, you tell your friggin' mom, Mother's Day is over for her. She's not a mother anymore. Okay. She's a woman with adult children. Mother's Day is for people with kids. I just got her to change her perspective. Right. Yeah. And so I think for us, we need to change our perspective on how we view our parents, because your parents, like your mom's job is done. Like you're an adult man. You don't need anything from her. She's not responsible for you. Yeah. She's only responsible to you. And what I mean by that is she's responsible to try to become a better version of herself that she can without dumping any crap on you about the story. Mm-hmm. And that's not changing how you feel. But listen, there's all, like Nure was talking about cultural paradigms, okay? So she's Turkish descent, and there's all kinds of cultural paradigms that were laid onto her, boom, 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 boom. And then she's going through this sexual assault, sexual abuse, and like culturally, all her beliefs are going, no wonder she felt the way that she felt about herself. And so we have these family paradigms. I've been in Australia. It's interesting. I've met a lot of Australian men, and there's an interesting paradigm for men in Australia. They got to get their shit together, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It's all perspective. Let me ask you a question. What's your perspective? And tell the truth. What's your perspective on you and this story?
My perspective is I feel like I've come out stronger from the actual whole scenario of it all. I feel like I had no other choice other than just to be strong and to pull through it and to come out with a better kind of mindset to it. So I did personal development as well. Probably not as detailed as Nure, but I did do some sort of work on that, and I have been through counseling. But I feel like my perspective is I really loved what you said before I came on the show, which was true forgiveness is forgetting. I don't it's quite remarkable. I don't think about this situation unless it's actually brought up in a conversation or a word kind of a thing. So when Nure invited me onto the live broadcast, I heard you speaking and like it triggered it, and I was like, oh, I should tell my story and and kind of get into that kind of detail for other people. But I think that's my kind of perspective. But I do have another question.
Sure.
So when the situation happened with me, I was kind of not knowing my sexuality or my sexual orientation. And I was questioning that. And I went to this certain person for guidance of that. And they took advantage of that. So I've always had this thing in my mind of, is that what could have made me who I am? Obviously, it's made me who I am today, but the whole sexual orientation part of it.
You want me to be honest?
Yes.
Who gives a shit? Okay, now here's what I mean, okay? I was listening to a podcast, a woman who was sexually assaulted at 13, and she'd been suffering from PTSD for a long, long time, all kinds of different therapy modalities, the whole shebang. And she'd heard about, and a very common therapy method is cognitive behavior therapy. And she had heard about this thing called CPT, cognitive processing therapy. And it's normally it's a 10-week thing that you do. And basically there's 10 exercises you do over 10 weeks. And she was a writer and a blogger and was a reporter for a magazine. And she wanted to go through this process in 10 days and write about it and record it. And it was part of her podcast. And so she did that. And so one of the perspectives that she had, so when she was sexually assaulted, she was wearing these loose men's boxer shorts and a loose t-shirt. And before she was sexually assaulted, she used to walk down this alleyway and say hi to this young man that was always in the alleyway. And she'd say hi and he'd smile and he'd smile. And so two things that she latched onto. One is, I must have caused the sexual assault because I was wearing these loose boxer shorts. And, I must have caused the sexual assault because, I said hi to him. And so through this CPT process, one of the questions they ask you was, all right, let's get objective here. Could that have happened to you? Could you have been sexually assaulted if you'd just been walking down the alley? It never said hello. Yeah. All right. Is it possible that you could have been sexually assaulted even if you were wearing jeans? Because she thought because they were loose, it was easier access for him to sexually assault her. And she goes, yeah. And so very quickly, she just changed her perspective, right? And so I wouldn't worry about it. I think one of the problems with the way we approach this, and one of the problems with the way that friends and family and therapists and counselors approach all this, everybody wants to go backwards to the past. Yeah. You don't need to go backwards. You can if you want, but I discovered you don't have to. I discovered actually anything from your past that needs to come up as you go forward in your growth and develop your awareness, it'll come up when you need it to come up, and you will be prepared, you'll be educated, you'll be aware, and you'll be armed to address it. So I wouldn't give a shit about that right now. You don't need to worry about that. I would just live in the moment, one day at a time, not looking backwards or worrying about the future. And just your job is to be yourself. That's your job. Be yourself and stay in the moment and don't look backwards. Nure, you're dying to chime in.
I just want to say one thing, Chris. Like, if you feel like you keep going to the back past, just figure out why you keep going back. What is it that's the feeling? Do you know what I mean? Like, every time I kept going to my past, I was feeling sorry for myself. I was like, what the hell, man? Consciously, I'm doing really well. I don't need to go back anymore. Why do I keep searching for something in the past? It was forgiveness.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I needed to forgive myself. Then you can't just be like, oh, I'll just forgive myself. Why are you forgiving yourself? Ask yourself questions until you get to that answer. And then, because like, I don't remember what I ate yesterday morning until I asked myself, like, what time did I wake up? Okay, what time did I have breakfast? What did I have for breakfast? Until I start asking questions, do you know what I mean? Then I start remembering things. So if you're going to your past, there must be something you need to go and forgive yourself for. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's you getting molested. Some people always blame themselves. Like Doug said, the girl was saying her boxer shorts. You're saying that it's because you were asking for your sexuality. Just sit down, speak to that child, how old ever you were when you were. For example, I was 8 years old. Just speak to that child and be like, what's wrong? What is it that's making you feel like this? And then why do you want forgiveness? Or why do you feel betrayed? Or why do you feel ashamed? Ask yourself these questions. Get to that point where you feel uncomfortable and then break it and then go forward. Just be honest though. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So 3 things I want to say to you, Chris, before we wrap up. And if you want to talk more, you want to have a little chat like I did with Nure, I'd be pleased to do that with you. One is your past is distorted. Okay. Nure had she had a lot of distortion going on because things are happening to her. She's being told things. She's feeling something different. She's in conflict because her true self, her authentic self, who she was when she arrived here before she got conditioned and brought up, there's a distortion going on. And so your authentic self is deep within you. And so when there's this distortion, or what one author I follow called a fog or a motote, there's a fog. And so it's difficult to find your authentic self. And so if you're looking backwards, you're looking back on distortion. Okay?
Yeah.
You want to find your authentic self, just live in the moment. I saw a little comment scroll across Facebook. You just said, congratulations, that took guts for you to say that. It did take guts, but you know what? It's not that big a deal. Like
it's something for me. I just felt like it was important because when I share my story, it's a way of getting through it.
Right.
I think it's just something that will better another person who watches.
But what
Can I say one more thing?
What we got to do is we have to minimize that there's something wrong with the story. We have to normalize the story because, listen, statistically, 60% of the women on here watching right now or watching the replay have experienced some form of trauma or abuse. 50% of the men have. All right. So pretty much most people are struggling like I was struggling, or you've been struggling, or Nure was struggling with. Okay. That's the norm. It's not like we're abnormal. The ones that are healthy, never been abused, that's abnormal. And so we just have to minimize this, not make it a big deal. Go ahead.
Doug said one thing to me, and that always makes me feel like, do you know what? That's right. I even give like 2 examples. He said 2 things to me. One, he said, see yourself as a warrior, not a victim. So I always say that I'm in war and battle every single day. Till I die, I'm going to be in war. So I'm my own warrior. Before I take myself into the field where there's full of bullets, I'm going to look at what I could do. And do you know what I mean? Just be myself. But I'm going to be a warrior. I'm not going to be a victim and just be like, you know what? This is war. I'm going to kill myself anyway and jump in front of freaking stuff that's going to hurt me. Do you know what I mean? There's no point. You're your own soldier. You're in a battle. You're doing really well. And also you have, this is the second thing he told me, you have your little ego and then you have your authentic self. And if your little ego is the dominant one, I think I told you this one, Chris.
Yeah.
How you're in the car, you're driving. You're the one who's having the control of the steering wheel, and the rear mirrors are your past. Would you look at the rear mirrors and drive?
No.
Exactly. So you
Yeah.
have to look forward. Would you
You're
let
right.
the passenger seat take control of the steering wheel?
New Ray, you need your own show.
I swear.
Listen,
does.
we got to wrap up here. I apologize.
Oh my goodness.
Chris, I really appreciate you coming on. Thank you for doing that. I hope that lessens the fear for others and motivates other people to come on. New Ray, I want to thank you. You're amazing. You're remarkable. I'm so happy for you. I'm proud of you.
Thank you.
You're doing great. We're going to have you back for sure. Every 4 weeks, I'm going to do an open mic. We're just going to be open and anybody can come on and talk. So we should have you back. Chris, if you want to come again, I'd be pleased to talk to you. All right, Tyson, let me just wrap us up here. So if I was to kind of sum up tonight's show, again, it's we make shit up in our heads. All right, our past stories, our past experience, their past. We have this distortion, and we've learned to have this dialogue and this conversation, and we make shit up. And we make all kinds of assumptions, and you form the habit of making assumptions. And what you do is you worry about your future. You worry about tomorrow, or you're worried about what they're going to say when you have to bring up that conflict, or you're worried about what your boss is going to say. You're worried about what your friend. We worry too much, right? So the message tonight is practice living your life in 24-hour blocks, neither looking backwards nor forwards. Now, it's okay. It's good to have a goal, and you're striving for something, okay? But live in the moment. Just train yourself. So if something comes up in your mind, no, that's more than 24 hours from now. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to address it. Just you have to trust the power of your mind. It's like a mental GPS. If you live in the now, and if you focus on the moment and live in the moment, your mental GPS will give you instructions and directions in the moment and tell you where to go. So practice living in the moment. I'd love to have you on the show. If you want to submit questions, there's a link we can drop in the chat. It'll take you to my Facebook or to my website. If you want to be a guest in the show, Aaron and Tyson were saying Chris would be cool to come on the show. So maybe we should talk to him about that. Go to my website, click on the link, and you can submit a question there. I'll get the email. Or if you want to come on as a guest of the show, we'll set up a call and we'll talk about that. And we would love to have you on. Next week's show, I've got a good friend of mine coming on. His name's Jay Whitelaw. And he's been a real inspiration, a mentor to me. And the title of the show is called What's on God's Mind? Something He Said. And so we're going to get into a deeper dive with mindset and theology, and really having a really interesting chat. It's going to piss a lot of people off. I'm looking forward to it. And we've got some great guests lined up in the coming weeks. So again, if you enjoy this, click on the share button, put a comment out, share it on your page, share it on your social media, text your friends with the link to my YouTube channel, whatever. But share this because, here's Chris. He got on the show because of New Ray. And now this tonight, whether he knows it or not, this is going to cause a turning point for him. And it's going to cause a breakthrough for him. Doesn't even know what's going to happen to him, but something's going to happen. So do me a favor, share the show. And the last thing I want to leave you with is that you can do this the hard way and the slow way, or you can do this the fast way and the simple way. And what I did is, after all the struggle, years of therapy, years of mistake, I finally made my mind up. I better figure out how I work. And so I went into a deep dive studying how my mind works, develop my own awareness, who I really am, what I'm really capable of, and really understand how my mind creates the results, how my mind creates the beliefs, how my mind in my past created my image that was causing me to struggle and to fail. So if you want to fast track, you don't want to screw around anymore, that's what you need to do. You got to raise your level of awareness by studying the right information. And I'll teach you, I'll guide you, I'll mentor you. So if you want to work with me, go to DougDane.com and click on Work with Doug. And you can get on my classes with my clients. And I know that I can help you. Tyson, I want to thank you. Aaron, I want to thank you. And of course, I want to thank New Ray and Chris coming on as our guest for a question. Thanks so much, my friend.
Yeah, that was an amazing show, Doug. Can't wait for next week, guys.
All right. Thanks again. Take care, everybody.